Yo, if I woke up every day, like every single day, and listened to everything the media said, if I listen to everything the school system say, if I listen to everything that gurus on YouTube say, I would be extremely broke, right? Because one thing we got to understand that following rules will keep you broke. Because most of the time, people don't understand that the rules are meant to be broken. But you got to understand like the way in life and what to actually do to succeed. One of the things that I tell a lot of people is my way and my entry point to success was always credit. Because if I understand how to borrow money, I'm always on top. Because most people not understanding the monetary system, they're not looking at it from that perspective. They're looking at the monetary system of borrowing as if you taking on liability. No, it's only liability if you put yourself in a position where you only consuming useless debt, right? So if you got a $7,000 credit card and you go into the mall and you just spending shopping with your friends and you're not putting any use to it, then you a damn slave. But look at a person who actually understand how credit works, how leveraging credit works, and they're using that to their advantage. Because remember, as long as you're able to borrow money, you save time. So when you're looking at these big banks, let's just say Chase Bank, you're looking at Bank of America, you looking at all of these major companies, Toll Brothers, or even if you look at Grant Cardone, what do they have in common? All of them borrow money, and that's how they self-sustain. And my whole advice to anybody who ever want to win, anybody who want to be successful, always understand that leveraging credit is always going to be the way to go. It's always going to be the way to go. You don't have to sell. Let's just say this. You don't have to put yourself in a position to be the best person to sell on e-commerce. You don't have to be the best marketer. You don't have to be the best content creator. You don't have to be the best nothing. Understanding how algorithms work with the credit bureaus, how do they judge your credit profile, how to keep your credit profile at its peak will always put you in a position to borrow. Because just picture this, right? You got people out there that's saving up to $10,000. Right? Saving $10,000. And you got some people out there who can borrow who can borrow $10,000 to $50,000. So you mean to tell me if he can go in the bank and borrow $50,000, he saved all the time? Because remember, time is money, money is time, right? So whatever you borrow, that's time being saved. Because that other time that you could have been using to get that type of money would have wasted all of it, right? So let's just say the average person, right? Let's say the average hardworking person, let's just say he made $40,000 a year, right? Or she made $40,000 a year. She want to save $20,000. Now, after taxes, she might get away with $29,000, right? So she'll probably stack on her check 7, 8 months. I'm talking about not paying rent, not buying groceries, not doing anything, just to get $20,000. But a person who understands credit, understand business credit, understand how to leverage credit, they go in the bank and borrow $20,000. They just save an entire 9 months. Only thing they have to do is treat it right and do right by it. That's the only thing, and that's the best game. So when you're looking at everything that we're going through as a country, right? You're looking at the recession. You're looking at like how inflation works. Inflation don't affect these major billionaires. I'm gonna tell y'all something, right? So when people they ask me questions like, how do major real estate moguls win? Like how do they make so much money, right? Let me explain to y'all how it works. So in every commercial or real estate plan, you have commercial financing, right? So the builder, which would be the real estate company, or if you pay a real estate company or a developer to build a project, right? They put down between 1% to 20%, right? Some banks require 5% down. Some banks require 1% down. The bank I know requires 3% down, right? So let's just say they come out of pocket 10%, right? And let's just say 10% going towards a $15 million construction property, right? Or a development property, real estate property, doesn't matter, right? So they put down $1.5 million, right? And this building costs $15 million, right? So $13 million will be the equity of the property, right? Like not the equity, but how much he will owe on a loan. But if he bought this property at 15,000, but it's worth 18, because remember, just because a property sells for 15, that don't mean it's worth 15. Most of the time it can worth way more, especially if it's a multi-unit property. So if it's a multi-unit property and they value it, as far as they didn't value it, but if they sold it at 15 million, but it's valued at 17 million. You leaving $2 million in equity in that property. And so most millionaires and billionaires and everything like that will refinance, do a cash out refinance on a property. So if you do a cash out refinance at 80% of $2 million, what you walking away with? What you walking away with? 1.6. So you walk away between 1.6 and $1.8 million. Guess what? You just got your entire deposit back. And on top of having your entire deposit back, you got positive cash flow that's coming to you from those rentals. And what you finna do with that other $1.8 million, you might pocket $800,000 and might take that other $1 million and buy another $10 million property and use that $1 million for that 10% down that the banks require. So when people ask me questions like, man, how do the rich get richer? The rich use debt and taxes all day, because remember, the debt that they talking about is borrowing money to finance any project, whether it be real estate, whether it be company supplies, whether it be more infrastructure, whether it be equipment, whatever the case might be. They always use financing from the banks, because if you can use someone else's money, you always going to win. You always going to be self-sufficient. So the crisis that we're going through right now, this shouldn't scare a person who credit savvy. This shouldn't scare a person who understand numbers. This shouldn't scare a person who understand how business work, right? Because you don't have to be the smartest person in the world to learn how to borrow money. You don't have to be the smartest businessman. You don't have to go to school to be an entrepreneur. Hell, you don't even have to be an entrepreneur by knowing how to borrow money. You can create a corporation and legally structure the corporation as if it's a consultant company. But the only thing you guys do is utilize credit cards and leverage credit cards, and you make more money and you pay back the credit cards to get more credit cards. The goal of the whole entire game is understanding debt, not get into debt and be stupid. We're talking about understanding debt and understand how rich people use debt in order to get rich. So if you're sitting on $50,000, $60,000, and you got this in credit, that $50,000, $60,000 in credit is literally working for you. It's working the job. So instead of you getting up, putting on your boots 4 in the morning, you put on your boots, put on your coat, and you going out in the storm and you working for pennies. If you took credit and you leverage it and it's working for you, and you sitting back and it's making itself, you're not even doing nothing. You just sitting back. All right, I put 1,000 into this. I'm expecting to get 2,500 back. I put 1,500 in this. I'm expecting to get 3,000 back. I put 17,000 in this. I'm expecting to get $25,000 back, because you leveraging other people's money. So that's what the rich do. So when people always ask me, man, why the rich is thriving? The rich is thriving because they successful on borrowed money. They are successful on borrowed money. They are living off borrowed money. When y'all go into the dealerships, right? I'm gonna give y'all an example. When y'all go into these, let's just say a third-party dealership, let's just say, you got let's just say a company who sell exotic cars, Chevys, and everything like that. They have something which is called a floor plan. A floor plan is what the manufacturer would give to dealers. It's in a sense of a line of credit. So they let's just say they give them a $7 million line of credit. They can purchase up to $7 million in buying power, and they have the floor plan, right? So they get this vehicle, that vehicle, that vehicle. They have all that on consignment. So since they have all these vehicles on consignment, they can mark up the price however much they want. But this the thing, they all of this is borrowed. All of the cars they have is borrowed. Everything is borrowed. Everything. So when you look at it, you like, if all the vehicles they have here is borrowed, that means they're not coming out of pocket on nothing, in a sense, because it's borrowed, right? Initially it's borrowed. Of course, they come out of pocket later on, but all of this stuff is borrowed. While we struggling, while we going through all of this stuff is borrowed, and they pay them back little lump sums and everything like that. But when you look at the whole idea, you like, everything is borrowed. When you look at the major corporations, you look at the Apple stores and everything like that, all of this stuff is borrowed. So why is people right now in 2024 working so hard for it? Play the banks, understand how these lending institutions work. Like I say, a while ago, I've been gave up on just worrying about business. I prefer to worry about understanding banks and understanding how lending works. I can care less about just understanding business, because the main focal point is understanding how can I borrow this type of money. If I want to borrow $250,000, I'm not trying to look at how to make $250,000. I want to look at how to borrow $250,000. because I know if I had $250,000, I can make $250,000 by investing that $250,000. So most people, man, says, I want to make $1 million. But people don't know the major corporations out here, they borrow $1 million. And then they make the $1 million off the $1 million that they borrowed. Like the example that I just gave you guys earlier with the real estate putting down 10%. So that's how it worked right there. So following the rules, listen to the media, listening to like certain people and getting the wrong advice is never the way to go. And it's going to put you in a stagnated situation where you can't grow from that. That's just the advice I have for y'all. I'm out. Peace and love.